Well, it's Tuesday. That means it's time to talk about your money with Evans Financial. And joining us in studio, as usual, is Colin Evans. And Colin, of course, good to have you back here. You were traveling last week, I understand, so hope you had a good time. What are we talking about today?
When a spouse becomes disabled, that can kind of throw a wrench into any future plans, any family plans, and especially if that spouse is the primary income earner or the breadwinner. That first thing that comes to mind is loss of income.
Right.
Oh goodness gracious, what do we do? One of the simplest things we do highly recommend for that is look and double check with your employer to see if you have the opportunity or the option for disability insurance. It's typically pennies on the dollar when it comes to insuring your income. On an individual basis, disability insurance is typically really expensive.
Yeah.
But with an employer, because there's a group of people that are housed and put on the same plan, it typically becomes really affordable, and it's a great thing to have. Okay. Typically, another thing we recommend is we're a time when we have talked about emergency savings. We've harped for 3 to 6 months of having those bill pay at your ready in a savings account, and this would be a time to look at supplemental income. Where could we possibly maybe go back to work in a different field or a different career in the event that you have a disability incident? One of the other big things that have come out of this can be increased medical costs that come in with a disability. So this is where you want to look and double check the health insurance. Was that with you or with the spouse potentially? Are there the options for any government programs such as Medicare or Medicaid to be hopping onto those to hopefully cut some of those medical bills down? And then are there any tax deductions? There are tax deductions that are centered around health and wellness that you could potentially have, especially when they go above certain thresholds. And the last thing is, this is going to change some retirement goals and potentially for long-term care. You're going to have to double check and look into retirement accounts for 2 reasons. One, what are you contributing? Because you might have to change those contributions. The other side of that is we might have to dip into this or start using some of these funds just because we are needing to pull the income from somewhere. What disability benefits that are out there? Go look at Social Security disability. This could be something that, for some government assistance and another angle. And lastly, talk with a financial professional. They can help you, put a little bit of fears at ease and maybe get you some strategies in place on where to take income from in the event that a disability does occur.
Now, and stuff like this is the last thing anyone wants to think about, of course, but you guys are there to help with these tough conversations.
Absolutely, and really with disability and disability insurance, one of the easiest things we see, because there's typically 2 types, short-term and long-term. And short-term, where we see the most access or most use of that is a spouse gets pregnant.
Right.
And they have to go out on maternity leave. That's a great use for that because that can help cover some income. And typically when you see disability, depending on short-term or long-term, it's anywhere from 60 to 70% of your pay. It's never going to be the full amount. The insurance companies has a little encouragement for you to go back to work. So say, hey, if it was 100%, why would anybody go back? So I'm just going to stay home. So.
I feel that. Quickly, if folks want to get a hold of you guys, what do they do?
Absolutely. You can find us on the web at evansfinancial.com or kick us an email to info@evansfinancial.com.
Always a pleasure, Colin. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Let's go to Patrick.